I never imagined that a simple moment could turn into a heart-wrenching revelation. It was just a lazy Saturday morning, the kind where the sun filters through half-drawn curtains, casting soft golden stripes across my bedroom. I remember the smell of fresh coffee wafting up from the kitchen. It was intoxicating and comforting. I had planned to curl up on the couch with my favorite blanket, sinking into the peaceful silence. But that day, silence was deceptive. As I reluctantly peeled myself from the warmth of my bed, a knock on the door jolted me. My heart raced. It was too loud, insistent knocks, as if the world outside was demanding my attention. I opened the door, expecting to see a neighbor or maybe a friend. Instead, it was a stranger. A tall man with wild, dark hair and stormy eyes stood before me. His presence was unsettling, wrapping around me like a winter chill. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice trembling but urgent. I felt my chest tighten. Who was this man? I barely knew him, but there was something familiar about the way he stood, like a thundercloud just before a storm. My instincts screamed to shut the door, but my legs refused to move. Who are you?" I stuttered, forcing a shaky smile. It felt absurd, facing a stranger like this, yet there was an unshakable sensation unfolding, an anticipation tinged with dread. He took a deep breath, his hands fidgeting with something in his pocket. "You don't know me, but you need to know what happened to your brother." My breath hitched, the name hung in the air like a loaded gun. My brother. My heart thudded louder, drowning out the world around me. My brother had disappeared 2 years ago, swallowed by shadows, and here was this man, claiming the truth of his fate lay in the storm of his eyes. "What do you mean? What happened?" My voice quivered, and I felt the warmth drain from my face. Spinning thoughts crashed against one another, visions of hope and despair coiling tightly in my chest. The man shifted closer, his gaze unwavering, piercing straight into my soul. "I can't tell you here. It's not safe." His words hung, thick with anxiety. I didn't understand. What did he mean? Who was after me? Just then, I heard a noise behind me, a soft creak as the floorboard shifted ominously. My heart sank. I wanted to turn around, to see what loomed just beyond the threshold of my doorway, building a tension that made me feel small and vulnerable. What is going on?" I managed to whisper, sensing my world tilting off its axis. The man's eyes widened, and in that split second, something flickered between us, a glimpse of understanding, fear, and perhaps even a hint of hope. "Go get your coat, now." His voice sliced through the air, a razor edge of urgency. My instincts kicked in. I dashed into my room as adrenaline pumped through my veins. What if this was the answer I had been searching for? Or was it the opening of a dark chapter one was not ready to face? I didn't know what lay ahead. But one feeling engulfed me: was I about to unravel the truth about my brother, or was this stranger orchestrating a trap that would pull me deeper into the unknown? As I yanked the coat over my trembling shoulders, my thoughts swirled. Bright flashes of memories danced in my mind, each one a delicate thread leading back to the home I once knew. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I hastily wrapped my coat around me, the man's eyes flickered with urgency, urging me to act quickly. The outside world felt more treacherous than ever. The soft morning sun which had once greeted me with warmth now seemed to mask shadows that lurked just beyond my front porch. Questions simmered inside me, each one more pressing than the last as I stepped out, my heart racing in synchronization with the pounding in my ears. "Where are we going?" I asked, the uncertainty tightening my throat. He glanced over his shoulder, as if he was already anticipating threats lurking behind us in the stillness of the street. "To a safe place," he murmured, his voice steady, but I could hear the cracking beneath it, a man's facade hiding anxiety. "What do you know about my brother?" I pressed, unwilling to let the moment pass without trying to grasp any thread of information I could. Every word felt like a lifeline. "Enough to know it's not just about him," he replied, his gaze darting around us as if expecting shadows to rise. "They're watching you too." The implication of they sent a shiver racing down my spine. Eager to know more, I fell silent, choosing instead to let the silence fill the space between us. We slipped through the morning streets, the air wrapped around us like a blanket of apprehension, every passerby suddenly appearing like a potential threat. That we arrived at a worn-out diner, its neon sign flickering with the kind of nostalgia that felt both comforting and dangerous. As we stepped inside, the familiar smell of diner coffee and frying bacon offered a false sense of peace amidst the chaos. I tucked my hair behind my ear, unnerved by the strange man, yet so desperate for answers that I clung to his every movement. "Sit," he commanded gently, guiding me to a booth in the corner, away from prying eyes. His focus never left the door, observing each arrival and exit like a hawk. I sat down, my fingers nervously tapping on the vinyl table, my mind racing through every dreaded scenario. "Order something." "It'll help," he advised, finally tearing his attention from the door to meet my gaze. I half-heartedly nodded as a waitress approached. I ordered a coffee, and when she left, the man leaned in. "You should be careful who you trust," he said, his voice low. "There are people who want that information kept hidden." "Information?" I repeated, feeling like I was juggling pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together. "About my brother?" "Yes," he replied. "But it goes beyond that. He wasn't just a victim, he was part of something much bigger." "Bigger? What do you mean? Was he involved in something dangerous?" Anguish fluttered in my chest, overwhelmed by the idea that my brother had strayed into shadowy realms that had now ensnared me as well. "It's complicated," he sighed, a shadow of regret crossing his features. "He discovered things best left alone. And now they want to silence those who knew him." My hands shook as I gripped the edge of the table, my thoughts spinning wildly. Could I bear the weight of knowing my brother had been caught in the jaws of something sinister? With each word he spoke, my world wrapped tighter, holding me against the ticking clock of time. Then, the soft chime of the diner door swaying open caught my attention. And there stood a man I recognized, a face I never thought I'd see again. My pulse quickened, and in that moment, time stood still. It was David. My brother's best friend. The last person I had seen before my brother vanished. Our eyes locked for an unsettling moment, a connection that pulsed strong yet heavy with unspoken truths. But just as quickly as he stepped towards me, shock and confusion painted clear across his brow, he halted, glancing nervously at the man sitting across from me. "David?" I instinctively called, my voice breaking with bittersweet recognition. "What are you doing here?" He opened his mouth as if to answer, but the look on his face told me something was dreadfully wrong. "Get away from her," David warned, his voice low and charged with panic. "You don't know what you're dealing with." The air thickened again, a fragile moment suspended on the brink of revelation. I was caught between two worlds, one held fragile hope and the other entangled with shadows, leaving me helpless and disoriented. In that heartbeat of stillness, I could feel the gravity of everything shifting, and before I could process, the door swung shut behind David, sealing off the outside world. "Who the hell are you?" the man across from me demanded fiercely, glaring at David as tension crackled like static between them. And just like that, I realized I was holding onto a past I couldn't escape, while the shadows were pulling me ever closer toward a truth I was unprepared to confront. The moment felt surreal, as if I were watching a scene unfold in slow motion. David's eyes danced between me and the man seated across from me, the weight of secrets heavy in the air. My heart raced, each beat thumping in my ears while a sense of dread pooled in my gut. "David," I breathed, hope clinging to my words like a lifeline. Please, tell me what is going on. I need to know what happened. His gaze softened momentarily, a flicker of the brotherly bond we once shared piercing through the tension. They're coming for you, Sarah. They want to erase everything connected to your brother. You can't trust him. David gestured sharply toward the man, his protective instincts flaring. Listen, I'm not your enemy, the man shot back, his jaw tightening. Then who are you? David insisted, stepping closer to the booth, his stance rigid, blocking any perceived threat. What do you know about my brother? Before the man could respond, I interrupted. David, please. Just tell me the truth. I deserve to know what is happening. David's eyes locked onto mine, their depth betraying an emotional storm. Your brother was investigating things that could destroy lives, Sarah. He got too close to something dangerous. I thought he could handle it, but a shadow prowled behind him as he trailed off, and I felt a chill. A moment lingered in silence, as if the very air acknowledged the danger thrumming just out of sight. The waitress, oblivious to the towering tension, approached with my coffee, setting it down in front of me like a fragile offering in a war zone. Thank you, I murmured, my voice shaky. Keep your voices down, the man cautioned, glancing toward the door. Here isn't safe. We need to move. Move? David turned sharply, a vein of anger threading through his voice. You think just running away is the answer? You're implicating her in all of this. I'm trying to protect her. The man snapped back, his hands clenched, shadowing whatever urgency plagued him. You didn't see what I saw, the things happening behind the scenes. It's not just about her brother, it's about what he uncovered that puts her in grave danger. Then tell me the truth right now, I urged, desperation tightening my throat. I had swallowed enough ambiguity. My plea hung pregnant in the air, and for a fleeting moment, I saw something break in David's eyes, a twinge of the guilt he carried. Sarah, we thought your brother was onto something big, human trafficking connected to a network of people who would do anything to keep their secrets. It's enormous. Your brother got caught in the web. Their words struck like shards of glass, piercing through the disorienting haze. Reality twisted uncomfortably with every syllable. But how do you know this? Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, assembling the jagged pieces of my fading memories. David's expression twisted with pain. I wanted to, but I didn't want to throw you into the lion's den. When he vanished, I was looking for him, trying to piece things together. I didn't expect it would bring you into this mess. I felt the ground shift beneath me. The thought of my brother lost to a murky underworld threatened to drown me in despair. So that's it? You decided I was safe or ignorant? No. David's tone was firm. I thought we could handle it, but now, he paused, steel determination filling his eyes. Now, we need a plan, one that doesn't put you directly in their sights. There's a safe house, we can going to a safe house, one keep me safe. I interrupted, my heart pounding with a tempest of frustration. You didn't see the look in his eyes when I left. This is bigger than any of us. They're going to come after me, and I won't hide while someone else fights for a truth I deserve to uncover. I need to know. Before either man could respond, a shrill sound sliced through the din of the diner, the unmistakable wail of police sirens. Instinctively, our attention snapped toward the window where flashing lights cast ominous shadows. They're here, the man said, voice tense as he pushed up from the booth. Run! David urged, grabbing my wrist with a grip that felt both protective and frantic. In that chaotic rush, everything blurred as adrenaline coursed through my veins. I barely registered the startled gasps of patrons around us or the aromas of burnt coffee and frying bacon fading into uncertainty. We darted toward the back exit, but as we approached the door, it swung open wide, revealing a uniformed officer standing in our way, his eyes narrowing at the three of us. Stay where you are, he ordered, and the reality of our peril slammed into me like a brick wall. David hesitated, clearly weighing his options. I could feel panic rising in my chest, the weight of so many unspoken words pressing down on me. Just as I began to doubt whether we'd find any way through the chaos, I heard the man next to me murmur, "This isn't the end. We'll figure this out. Just trust me." But in a heartbeat, the world shifted again. As another officer joined the first, I caught sight of a figure standing further back, hidden in a shadow of the diner's flickering lights. A familiar face that caused my breath to hitch. My mother, her expression torn between disbelief and fear. "Mom." Disbelief laced my voice, an echo of vulnerability cascading through every fiber of my being as we stood on the precipice of revelation. "Get away from him," she shouted, her eyes blazing with a fierce protectiveness that ignited a fresh swell of confusion. "Mom, wait!" I cried out, emotions crashing like waves, caught in a storm of familial ties and buried truths, questions pulsing at the edge of my consciousness, each one demanding to be heard as I faced the unknown and the shadows surrounding us. Everything was unraveling, and I felt trapped in a web of choices that could lead us all into darkness. The air was thick with tension, a suffocating blanket that stifled sounds and slowed time as I stared at my mother, the world narrowing to just her and the choices that hung between us. My heart raced violently, a wild drum echoing the chaos in my mind. "Mom, please. You don't understand. I understand more than you realize," she shouted, stepping forward, her eyes fierce and shimmering with pent-up fear. "You need to get away from them. They're dangerous." I asked, disbelief twisting in my gut as the realization washed over me. "You mean David and your brother? They can't be the enemy. I need to know what you're hiding." "Enough, Sarah." David's voice cut through the storm of emotion. His protective instinct flared back to life, and he pulled me slightly behind him, as if he could shield me from the truth that pulsed like a living entity between us. "Stop this," I pleaded, looking from David's resolute stance to my mother's distressed face, searching for answers in the chaos. "All of you are acting like I'm just some fragile vase that can shatter at any moment. I need to know what's happening with my brother. I'm not a child anymore." There was a flicker of something in my mother's eyes, a mixture of fear, regret, and an undercurrent of something deeper. "This isn't the life I wanted for you," she said, her voice shaking. "You have no idea the darkness that your brother stumbled into. You can't just walk into it blindly. I'd rather walk into the darkness and confront it than hide in a safe house, pretending nothing is wrong." My voice rose defiantly as I faced my mother, the weight of the world pressing down. "What did he uncover?" The officers hesitated, exchanging wary glances as the din of the diner faded into a tense silence, holding its breath, waiting. My fear morphed into a burning courage, each beat of my heart whispering reminders of my brother, lost, but not forgotten. Just tell me." My voice cracked, a plea fueled by desperation. "I have to know, Mom. Please." She took a step back, her determination faltering as the truth hung suspended between us like a fragile thread waiting to snap. And then, in a voice that trembled with the weight of those years, she confessed, "He was looking into a ring, Sarah. A ring of people who take children, who manipulate families and destroy lives." The words spilled out like a dam breaking, raw and visceral. "I thought he would be safe if he backed off, but he didn't. It all got too close. They threatened you." I gasped, the implications washing over me like a cold wave of horror. "No, not me." Her eyes flickered to the officers, her expression shifting toward regret. "They've been watching us for a long time. They want the truth buried, and they'll do anything. That's why I came to protect you." My heart raced as anger and fear swelled within me. By lying to me? By keeping me in the dark? That's not protection, Mom. Enough. One of the officers finally raised his voice, stepping between us with an authority that jolted the atmosphere. "This isn't a discussion, it's a matter of safety. We need to take you. I'm not going anywhere." I shouted, defiance fueling my resolve. If you think for 1 second that I'll let you suffocate the truth under some misguided notion of safety, you're wrong. I have a right to know what happened to my brother. Before anyone could respond, the din of the diner erupted with sudden chaos. Patrons were diving for cover, and the once busy space transformed into a scene of panic as a door crashed open, revealing a group of dark figures clad in black, faces obscured, sweeping into the diner with an air of menace. Heart in my throat, I felt the collective fear rise like a tidal wave, the emotions thick and palpable. We were out of time. The impending threat faded any illusions of safety, and the reality of our vulnerability hit me like a freight train. "Run!" David shouted, pulling me once more toward the back. My mother hesitated, fear etched on her face, torn between her instinct to protect me and the undeniable danger that loomed in the entrance. "Go!" I implored her, my voice rising above the disarray. "We'll find a way out." The moment felt surreal as we sprinted backward, weaving past terrified patrons, and a surge of astonishing clarity struck me, the grasp of familial love intertwined with the stranglehold of betrayal. "We're not safe yet." Just then, amidst the chaos, I caught a brief glimpse of one of the figures from the entrance staring directly at me through the scattering crowd. A flash of recognition hit me, my heart stopping. I had seen that face before, but the circumstances, the connection, twisted and darkened it into a labyrinth of confusion. "Wait!" I shouted, breaking away from the grip of the others. "I know him." The urgency of the moment blotted out my fear, and as the shadows surged closer, my heart pounded with newfound determination. I would confront the darkness. Whatever revelation those haunting eyes held, I had no choice but to bear witness. In the rhythm of fleeing souls, I braced myself for a truth that threatened to unravel everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the price of seeking justice, and with that, in the utter chaos, the world tilted once more, spinning me toward an uncertain confrontation that would bind us to a darkness I could never have imagined. The world exploded in a blur of sound as adrenaline coursed through my veins. The diner, once a familiar haven, had transformed into a battleground of confusion and fear. My eyes locked on the figure, desperate to untangle the threads of recognition that wove around my mind. How had I missed this connection before? Who was he, and how did I know him? "Stay close!" David shouted, his voice a tether pulling me back to reality. But as much as I wanted to comply, my instincts urged me forward. I had to uncover the truth behind the face that stirred something deep within me, a familiarity that defied logic. "Sarah, no." My mother's cry echoed in my ears, but her voice felt like distant thunder, muted by the urgency thrumming in my chest. My feet betrayed me, and before I knew it, I was weaving through the screaming masses, ignoring the shouts and chaos that swirled around me. With every step closer to the shadows, clarity cut through the haze. The figure was tall, with a sharp jaw and intense eyes that seemed to pierce right through the din. I could see glimmers of recognition reflected back, the hint of a smile long forgotten, memories locked away beneath layers of hurt. "Matthew!" I gasped, the name slipping from my lips like a prayer. My childhood friend, my brother's confidant, lost to the years and tangled in the web of our shared past. He turned sharply at my voice, surprise flickering momentarily before it morphed into uncertainty. This was not the reunion I had hoped for. I could see the conflict etched in his expression. Instead of running to me, he hesitated, the chasm of those years stretching painfully wide. "We need to move," he barked, eyes darting to the entrance where the figures continued to advance. The urgency broke through the cloud of nostalgia that enveloped me, the past bleeding into the present with sharp edges. "You shouldn't be here, Sarah. Neither should you." I shot back, desperation mingling with confusion. "What have you gotten yourself into?" Before he could respond, his gaze shifted ominously over my shoulder. I turned just in time to see one of the dark figures approaching, the air thickening as dread hung like a taunt above us. I felt David's grip tighten around my arm, ready to pull me away, but there was something in Matthew's eyes, a plea for understanding, that anchored me in place. "I'm trying to protect you," he shouted, the words strained as he wrestled with the gravity of our situation. This isn't a game for you. These people are dangerous. You have to trust me, please. I wanted to believe him, to heed his warning, but the ties of friendship and loyalty twisted painfully in my chest. Protect me. Or protect your own secrets. The accusation slipped out before I could stop it. What's the truth, Matthew? What have you been hiding with my brother? Just as the shadows closed in, one of the figures lunged forward, and I instinctively stepped back, colliding against David. In that moment, fear threaded through my mind. What was I doing? Had I let my need for answers push me too far into danger, veering off the path to safety? We don't have time for this, David urged, looking between us, and I could see the flicker of frustration in his eyes. Sarah, come on. Before I could respond, Matthew stepped closer, urgency driving his every move. Listen, you have to go. If they find out you're here, it'll be worse than you can imagine. Worse than losing my brother. The bitterness in my voice tasted like ash, weighed down by the realities I struggled to accept. That I saw the flash of pain cross his face, a fleeting glimpse of remorse for a friendship shattered by circumstances beyond our control. I never wanted any of this, but you're in deeper than you think. I can help you, but you need to trust me. You can't stay here. A loud crash interrupted us as more chaos erupted. A table toppled over, sending plates and diners sprawling. The clamor of panic, the echo of sheer chaos, clouded my thoughts. I took a deep breath, locking my gaze onto Matthew's, searching for the remnants of our bond. As I contemplated trusting him, the air shifted. A weight pressed down on my heart, the realization dawning that maybe our shared history wouldn't be enough to save us. Who had he become while I was lost in my own struggle? Suddenly, a shout pierced through the noise. There they are. I jerked, the gravity of the moment crashing over me like a tidal wave. The figures had zeroed in on us. Fear coursed through my veins, and adrenaline ignited my fight-or-flight instinct. My decision needed to come now or never. David, we need. I started, but before I could finish, Matthew grabbed my hand, his grip firm. Run, now. The urgency in his voice sliced through the chaos as he yanked me away and propelled us toward the back exit. In that heartbeat, any semblance of safety seemed to evaporate. The thrill of the unknown enveloped me, threatening to unravel everything I thought I understood. But as we darted through the kitchen doors, an unexpected warmth surged through me, a flicker of hope igniting against the darkness. Whatever lay ahead would test us, but that bond, fragile and fraught with shadows, refused to dim. And then, just as we burst into the alley behind the diner, Matthew turned to me with a look etched in desperation. I need to tell you the truth about your brother. The noise of the diner faded, but the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. With a sinking feeling in my stomach, I braced myself for the revelation that would come crashing down like a storm, one that threatened not just our lives, but the very essence of who I was. The alley was dim, shadows clinging to every crevice, and the distant sounds of chaos echoed like a haunting melody behind us. Matthew's grip on my hand tightened, anchoring me in a moment that felt suspended in time. There was a heaviness in the air, a scent of rain mingled with despair that curled into my lungs as I met his intense gaze. What are you afraid to tell me? I could barely manage my words, the tremor in my voice betraying the calm I was trying to maintain. I was teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Whatever secrets Matthew held danced just out of reach, tantalizing yet dreadful. He shifted his weight, hesitation visible in his features. Sarah, things are more complicated than they seem. Your brother, he's not who you think he is. My heart dropped, a painful thud resonating in my chest. What do you mean? The question came out as a whisper, and I knew my world was teetering on the brink of collapse. The past few months had been a string of confounding truths, and now the foundation of my brother's identity was being challenged. Matthew took a breath, his eyes darting around, paranoia etched across his brow. You need to trust me. Your brother got tangled up in something dangerous, and he made decisions, things he's never told you about. I didn't want to believe it either, but what, Matthew? Desperation coursed through me, pulling at my insides like a clawing ache. I was caught in a storm of uncertainty, grappling against the rising tide of fears threatening to drown me whole. You can't just drop this on me and expect me to keep running. Please, let me explain. He urged softly. The weight of his gaze bore into me, revealing a glimmer of that childhood friendship we had once cherished. It's not just about your brother anymore. It's bigger than us. There are people searching for you, for him. They know he's involved in things that could put you in danger, me in danger. I cut him off, my voice rising. What could possibly be more dangerous than losing everything I have? Not knowing the truth is worse than you can imagine, he insisted desperately, fear flickering in his eyes. He's mixed up in a network that does terrible things. I couldn't protect him. The implications hung there, an invisible blade poised to slice through my heart, and as the truth started to seep in, I felt my legs weaken beneath me. The shadows around us felt more sinister, and I realized that this wasn't just about him, it was about the very fabric of my existence unraveling in stark contrast. But I need him, I murmured, the vulnerability spilling out. My voice wavered, fraying at the edges as memories of laughter and warmth intertwined with chilling fear. I thought he'd always be there for me. Matthew took a step closer, lowering his voice. He wants to protect you. That's why you have to get away. Do you really think he chose this? A heavy silence enveloped us. The world beyond the alley faded, the noise of chaos replaced by the steady thump of my heart. Every second spent trapped in this moment felt like a betrayal to my brother, who had been my lifeline amidst the darkness of our childhood. Finally, I forced the question that had curled around my mind like an invasive vine. Then what should I do? Matthew's expression shifted, determination cutting through his uncertainty. We need to find him before they do. Before it's too late. For the first time, a swell of hope threaded through my despair. How? Do you know where he is? He nodded slowly, a flicker of resolve igniting. I have contacts who can help. But you have to promise to stay by my side. Trust is everything right now. And if you're wrong? I struggled to voice the fear that gripped me. He reached out, capturing my hand in both of his, grounding me with palpable intensity. You'll never know if you don't try. Don't let fear dictate your truth. In that moment, as the world outside swirled in confusion, I felt the threads of our shared past weave together with the present, creating a fragile tapestry of possibility. Okay. I'll trust you, I said slowly, my heart racing with the weight of my promise. Before we could plan our next move, a distant siren blared, slicing through the air. My breath hitched as adrenaline washed over me like icy water. The danger was real, it felt like a living thing that lurked just beyond the shadows. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of movement in the alley's darkness. My heart stopped as a figure emerged, a familiar silhouette, framed by flickering light. Matthew? Sarah? The voice trembled, and I felt the ground slip from beneath me as I recognized it. It was my brother, but the expression on his face, a combination of fear and relief, sent tremors down my spine. Stop. Don't move. Matthew barked, positioning himself protectively in front of me. Let me through. My brother shouted, desperation threading through his voice. I'm not here to hurt anyone, I swear. I just need to talk. In that moment, the revelations around my brother began to twist like a knife, and I realized everything I feared, and everything I sought, was converging in the dark embrace of that alley. The truth awaited, tangled in shadows and held in the balance of this very encounter. My heart raced, torn between the man I trusted and the brother I loved, as the storm of emotions threatened to engulf me whole. The choice hung in the air, more palpable than ever, because as my brother's eyes locked on mine, I saw the desperation that echoed my own. And just like that, the crushing weight of uncertainty threatened to pull me under. The rain began to fall, soft at first, then picking up momentum as if responding to the turmoil between us. Each drop on the pavement mixed with the chill in the air, blurring the lines of clarity I desperately sought. I stood frozen, caught in a tangled web of emotions, unable to breathe as I tried to reconcile the man whom I had idolized with the darker undercurrents that Matthew spoke of. "Please, just listen to me," my brother pleaded, stepping forward despite Matthew's warning stance. "I'm not your enemy, Sarah." "Then who are you?" I shouted, the frustration boiling over. The alleyway felt like a confining tunnel slowly closing in around us, swallowing any hope of understanding. "What are you involved in? Why didn't you come to me before?" "Because I didn't want to drag you into this mess," he exclaimed, pinching the bridge of his nose as if to stave off a growing headache. "I thought I could handle it on my own. I thought it would protect you. But it's too late for that now." "What did you do?" The words tore from my lips, tinged with hurt and astonishment. "You said you'd always be there for me. You promised." "I know. And I'm sorry. But things got out of control." His shoulders sagged, defeat etching itself onto his face. The flickering light cast shadows that danced wildly, mimicking the chaos spinning inside me. "If they find you I interrupted, my voice trembling as the weight of his confession settled around me like a heavy fog. "Who are they? What are they after?" "They work for a cartel," he whispered, each word falling like a stone into the silence. The very mention of that word sent ice racing through my veins. I got pulled in without knowing the full picture. "They've got their sights set on me, and if they find you your choices put us both at risk, and you've dragged my life into whatever your mess is." I challenged, my heart pounding, not from fear alone, but from the venom of betrayal that coated my words. I had envisioned our reunion as a warm embrace, filled with understanding and relief, not this time bomb of tension. "Just trust me. There's a safe place," he pleaded, glancing nervously down the alleyway. "We can figure this out together. Just come with me." "Together?" I asked incredulously. "You mean run away like a coward? Like this is all just some game?" Matthew's fierce gaze snapped to mine, a protective fire igniting in his eyes. "We don't have time for this. Sarah, if you want to keep your brother safe, we need to move." In that moment, despite the tension, Matthew reached for my arm, his grip firm yet gentle. The storm swirling in my mind struggled against the edges of clarity, and I could feel a glimmer of connection beginning to weave between us again. "You need to make a choice, Sarah. Do you want to stay here, waiting for them to find you, or do you want to trust your brother and run?" I looked from Matthew to my brother, whose eyes sparkled with both intensity and vulnerability. "What's your plan?" I finally asked him. Why brother took a shaky breath, his expression softening as if he were seeing me for the first time beyond the fear and anger. "There's a safe house. I can get you there, away from here. We can figure everything out, just give me a chance to explain." "But what if it's a trap?" Matthew questioned, skepticism lacing his tone. "How can you guarantee it'll be safe?" "I promise." My brother's voice was raw, his expression fracturing under the weight of his desperation. "Just trust me one last time. I'm still your brother. I want to protect you." The rain beat down harder, blurring the line between our past and present, and for a moment, all I could see was the unwavering bond we had once shared, the laughter, the secrets, the childhood dreams. I felt the tug of hope, yet the chains of fear clung tightly around my heart. That in a tumultuous jumble of emotions, I faced a decision that could unravel everything I had fought to hold on to, everything I ever believed about the world, about the people in it. "Okay," I sighed, finally relenting. "I'll go with you, but only if you promise to be honest with me. No more secrets." "I promise," he said, relief washing over his features. "But we have to hurry." Just as we turned, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed in the wet alley, an ominous reminder of the danger that loomed just moments away. My heartbeat slammed against my ribcage as I gripped my brother's hand, my pulse quickening. "No!" Matthew shouted, panic coloring his voice. "We have to move now." I took a step back, torn between my brother's anxious face and Matthew's fierce determination. Anxiety clawed at my insides as the shadows shifted, and I felt an unsettling chill. As I prepared to take the leap of faith into what lay ahead, a flash of light caught my eye at the street's end. A police car. Or something worse. Before I could react, my brother pulled me close, his breath hot against my ear. "Trust me, run." The three of us scrambled into the unknown, hearts racing under the weight of countless untold truths, the shadows closing in behind us, and just as I glanced back, I saw something unfurl in the darkness, figures emerging, familiar faces with anxious expressions. The storm was only beginning. The frantic rush of our escape tore through the stoic silence of the rain-soaked night, the droplets cascading like tears against the emotional dam that threatened to break within me. Each hurried step echoed the chaos swirling in my heart, uncertainty mingling with a desperate flicker of hope. Matthew held onto my arm tightly, dashing through the labyrinth of alleyways while my brother kept pace beside me, his anxious glances reminiscent of a child desperate for validation. The wet pavement reflected the glimmers of streetlights, transforming the world into a kaleidoscope of distorted colors, a mirror to the turmoil within. I clung to my brother's assurances, replaying his words in my mind like a haunting melody, yet doubt gnawed at me. What if this was all a ploy? Clarity was elusive, slipping through my fingers like water. Soon, we reached a narrow side street that looked less like a refuge and more like a trap. A flickering bulb struggled to provide light, and I could see the tension etched deep into Matthew's features as he scanned our surroundings. "Is this the safe house?" I asked, my voice wavering despite my efforts to sound certain. "Just wait," my brother urged, urgency threading through his words. "We need to find a place to hide before," as if conjured by the dark thoughts in my mind, an ominous vehicle roared down the street, headlights pinning us in place like prey. Panic surged, constricting my throat. "That's them, isn't it?" I whispered, dread sinking into my bones. "No," my brother snapped. "I see the driver, he doesn't look like them. Just stay low." He pulled me hard against the brick wall of a building, Matthew flanking us, taut with reassurance. Every beat of my heart echoed like a ticking time bomb in my ears. Through the vehicle's window, an unfamiliar face twisted toward us, the shadows obscuring his features. "Who is it?" I asked, voice trembling. "A contact," my brother answered, his eyes locked on the approaching figure as if trying to decipher its intentions. "Just, trust me." I wanted nothing more than to feel safe, but the warmth I craved seemed ever elusive, drifting just out of reach. The headlights swept over us like a spotlight, and I held my breath, straining to hear the muffled sounds from the car. As the engine turned off, a figure stepped out, his frame outlined in the dim light. With cautious steps, he approached, the light catching the glint of something metallic in his hand. My chest tightened, the urge to bolt filled me, but then, he smiled. "Josh. Is that you?" Familiarity struck like a thunderclap in my chest. It was Antonio, a childhood friend of my brother's, someone we thought was lost to the currents of life. There was a flood of memories, summer afternoons, laughter echoing through backyards, innocent vows of eternal friendship. "Antonio," I breathed, relief washing over me like a balm on the raw wounds of tension. "Sarah," he replied, his smile faltering as he glanced between us, concern etching deeper lines on his forehead. "What the hell are you doing here?" "It's a long story," my brother interjected, urgency lacing his tone. "We need to get her out of here." "They're coming." Antonio cursed under his breath, pulling us over to the side of the vehicle. "Get in, quick." We obeyed, squeezing into the cramped back seat as my heart fluttered with mixed emotions. Here was a sliver of hope, an ally in our chaotic world. "You have to tell me everything," Antonio pressed, his voice low but firm. As we sped down the deserted street, the weight of secrets began to lift. My brother began to speak, recounting events that spiraled beyond our control. I watched him transform, the little boy I once knew flickering to life within the man he had become, riddled with guilt and fear. The shadows of betrayal dulled, revealing a path back to understanding. "Things are messy, but I can help," Antonio said as he navigated through the night. "We have connections that could protect us, could protect you. We just need to. A shattering noise cut through the air, punctuated by the jolt of a bullet hitting the vehicle. My blood ran cold as panic surged anew. Get down! Matthew shouted, pushing me against the seat. The screech of tires echoed around us as Antonio swerved, desperately trying to evade the unrelenting pursuit. I felt my brother's arm wrap protectively around me, an instinctive gesture that both comforted and alarmed me. "Stay close!" he exclaimed. The adrenaline coursed through me, mingling with disbelief. More than once, I had worried I'd lose my family in this storm, and now, as danger lurked closer, I was reminded that love could be both a refuge and a perilous gamble. "Hold on tight!" Antonio shouted, twisting the wheel sharply. "They're not far behind." Everything plunged into chaos, the world outside a blur of lights and shadows, my heart pounding in rhythm with the rising tension. A part of me longed to sink into despair, to resign myself to fate's cruel capriciousness, but another voice whispered, reminding me of brighter days, of laughter and light. Just when I thought we would escape, another shot rang out, this one striking the rear window with a violent crash. The glass shattered, filling the air with the piercing sound of danger. "Keep driving!" my brother shouted, his voice strained yet filled with a fierce determination. "We can't let them catch us." But as we weaved through the dimly lit streets, hope felt precariously balanced on the edge of the unknown. And as the adrenaline dulled slightly, the gravity of my choices, the very foundation of loyalty and trust, seemed to shift. That I in the back seat, amid the chaos, a sudden thought struck me. What if my brother's involvement meant that this would all inevitably lead to a bait, a trap designed to draw us in, ensnaring us closer? My loyalty wavered as fear of betrayal tugged at my heartstrings. That I had chosen to trust him once, but now, the fine line between safety and despair was bloodied and blurred. The storm of my emotions churned violently, and as we sped onward into the night, the flickering light of safety seemed dimmer than ever, and then, a gut-wrenching revelation twisted inside me, threatening to unravel the fragile sense of control I feebly grasped. "What if you didn't just fall into this?" I asked, panic rising in my voice. "What if you chose this?" The air thickened with implications, silence hanging heavy as we hurtled into darkness, the night collapsing around us, each heartbeat echoing the unspeakable truth. The car careened around a corner, the tires screeching as Antonio fought to maintain control. Yet, the panic swirling among us felt heavier than ever, and my heart hammered against my ribcage, drowning out the sound of the engine. The faces of my brother and Antonio were a mixture of determination and fear, but beneath it all, there was a suffocating tension, one that wouldn't merely descend into silence. "What do you mean?" Matthew's voice was strained, barely punctuating the chaos of the moment. His eyes darted between the rearview mirror and my face, searching for reassurance as we sped along the narrow streets. The question had slipped out before I could reel it in, born from an unfurling dread that anchored itself in my stomach. "What if you chose this? What if you're leading us into a trap?" I didn't want to look at him, but couldn't tear my eyes away from the fear flickering behind my brother's facade. "We can't afford to waste time on doubts, Sarah," he shouted, his resolve flaring even as the wheels seemed to grapple with fate itself. "We have to survive this." "You don't understand," I insisted, my voice rising, woven with the frantic pulse of desperation. "I've seen how much you've changed. You're not the same, you're lured by something darker now." "What if?" "Stop!" Antonio interjected, his sharp command slicing through the atmosphere thick with our fears. He glanced back, his expression igniting a spark of panic as he spotted headlights closing in on us. "We focus on getting away, nothing else." I felt momentum shift as the urgency sank into me. We were running, yet here I was, questioning the very soul I had always trusted. A flash of doubt, raw and unrelenting, filled the empty spaces between my thoughts, gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. Was I wrong to believe in his intentions? Had this path always been chosen for us? As we dashed through the streets, shadows flickered like phantoms in the periphery, but my mind spiraled into darker realms where unspeakable truths lay waiting. Each turn we took heightened the betrayal that clung to my heart, whispering deceit with every beat. The suffocating silence of my thoughts hardened into a protective shell, the walls forming barriers against the truths I yearned to accept, but even as I wrestled with this tempest within, small moments of clarity glimmered amid the turbulence. Despite the chaos, there was the firm grip of Matthew's hand on my shoulder, linking us together, and a flicker in Antonio's eyes that hinted at hope. Their unyielding bonds reminded me there was still warmth in this realm of shadows. "Just hold on a little longer," Antonio urged, gripping the wheel with newfound fervor. "We're almost there." The thrum of the engine blended with the pounding beat of my pulse, each thud a reminder of life, of flames once flickering vibrantly. The memories battered against the walls of my heart like rain against glass, childhood laughter by the bonfire, whispered promises of forever, dreams painted in vivid hues under starlit skies. I felt as though I was wading through an ocean of what could have been and what might still be. Suddenly, a blaring horn echoed from behind, and another shot rang out, shattering the rear window yet again. I flinched, my body instinctively seeking refuge in Matthew's protective grasp. My breath quickened as fear coiled tightly, squeezing the air from my lungs. Antonio cursed under his breath, jerking the wheel, narrowly avoiding an obstacle in our path. "Sarah, if something happens, I need you to know." Matthew's voice broke through the rising tide of panic, and I glanced at him. His expression was resolute, yet raw. "I would never put us in danger willingly. Never." Before I could respond, we rounded a corner, and my heart plummeted into an abyss. 3 dark vehicles loomed ahead, blocking the road with an unyielding presence, their engines purring like beasts ready to pounce. "We'll take side streets," Antonio gritted out, determination illuminating his features. But my heart sank further, and clarity twisted into dread. As if reading my thoughts, every fear I had forsaken coalesced, culminating into a singular realization: this was no mere coincidence. My brother's choices, our paths, were entwined into something more sinister than I wanted to admit. "Antonio," I whispered, swallowing the lump in my throat. What if you're leading us into a trap?" His grip faltered for a fraction of a second, uncertainty flickering in his gaze as we bore witness to our encroaching doom. The air crackled with dread, the engines of the vehicles ahead revving, readying to either snare us in their web or release us to freedom. The jarring juxtaposition of hope and terror threatened to consume me. It was a simple moment transformed into a heart-wrenching revelation, the uncertainty woven through the very fabric of my existence as we barreled straight into the dark maw of what lay ahead. And as the headlights flooded our vision, another realization hit me hard, a truth buried deep inside, one I feared would change everything. That it was becoming painfully clear: escape was only a thread away, but what lay beyond the veil of darkness might just trap us all, pulling tighter and tighter until we could breathe no more. The static hum of the night enveloped us as terror and hope tangled seamlessly around my heart, a living testament to the weight of our choices. I felt like I was standing on the precipice of a deep ravine, teetering between the uncharted darkness and the faint glimmers of light that had once painted my world. In this moment of reckless abandon, I found myself grasping tightly to the thread of my brother's hand while mapping the road ahead that teemed with unyielding uncertainties. The engines from the 3 vehicles thrummed behind us, hunting and prowling, their headlights boring into the narrow alley like heat-seeking missiles aiming to obliterate everything they deemed guilty. I had wanted answers, but my brother's desperate attempts to protect me had wrapped the truth in chains of silence. It was maddening. The shadows that haunted our past now lurked in front of us, demanding a reckoning. "Antonio, keep driving," Matthew shouted, glancing back, his features set in determination but tinged with fear. "Whatever they want, we can't let them have it." My brother's voice, once warm and filled with playful laughter, now trembled with a resonance of urgency that cut through the chaos like lightning splitting the sky. I never imagined that uncertainty could breed such a potent, almost intoxicating blend of fear and resilience. "We'll find a way," Antonio barked, shifting gears as he manipulated the car like a gladiator on the battlefield, hungry to fend off the colossal beasts vying for our lives. As he expertly navigated sharp corners, my heart thrummed with more than just dread. A pulse of undeniable hope burgeoned within, fueled by the desire to reclaim my brother from the grasp of a dark reality I was just beginning to comprehend. The flicker of possibility ignited a fierce fight nested deep inside of me, suddenly, time warped, the seconds stretched into minutes as my vision tunneled, and all I could see were Matthew's eyes, full of a mix of defiance and regret. I had seen glimmers of the boy I grew up with, the laughter we shared ricocheting in the recesses of my memories. I caught a glimpse of the man he was becoming, burdened yet steadfast. Would he sacrifice everything for this darkness? My emotions threatened to spill over, but I swallowed hard, trying to contain the aching need for clarity. "Matthew," I began, hesitating under the weight of everything left unsaid, and yet words eluded me. The chain of silence that tethered my throat felt constrictive, yet I could still feel the pulse of longing for connection, my brother's past breaking loose from the shackles of uncertainty. "Is there a way out? One where we can escape this nightmare together?" His gaze softened as the weight of my plea washed over him, a torrent of vulnerability laid bare between us. "I want there to be, Sarah. I want to protect you above all, but it's not just about survival anymore. It's about facing the truth, the darkness your brother thought he could outsmart." The admission hung heavy in the air, echoing with unspoken fear. Just then, the cacophony of engines behind us escalated, demandingly relentless as the surrounding darkness echoed with intent. I turned toward the window, the sight before me inducing a rush of cold horror. The three vehicles bore down upon us, closing the gap like wolves assessing their prey. Instinctively, I clutched Matthew's arm tighter, feeling the warmth of his blood running through his veins, reminding me we were alive in this moment, alive, even if only for the fleeting seconds yet to unfold. "You both need to listen," Antonio interrupted, urgency igniting his voice, a man standing firmly on the edge of comprehension and desperation. "There's a safe house up ahead. If we can reach it, we might have a chance." His gaze turned to mine, urging me to believe as he spoke steadily, intertwining the hope we desperately sought with urgency. "But we have to work together to get there, no secrets. We can't let them drag us back into the darkness. I can't lose you again." I burst out, unable to temper the raw fear swelling inside me. "If I lose you now," my voice trembled, layered with the throe of despair pooling around our feet. The mere thought of anything, his disappearance, another chasm of silence threatened to paralyze me. In that moment, everything shifted. The darkness felt heavier, wrapping closer as if the shadows could sense my fear. And just like that, the weight of the world hung upon my shoulders. A decision loomed like a specter. The road ahead shifted, turning into an upheaval of doubt and boundaries, each twist breathing life to my worst fears, but the storm within me brewed, battling against despair, igniting resolve in its wake. I inhaled sharply, as though it were the last breath, the crisp air surging through my lungs as I felt a flood of courage swim into my veins. "I'm tired of living in shadows," I declared, my voice steady, resolute. "I want the truth. Whatever that means, I want to face it together." The three of us exchanged glances in that jarring moment, eyes reflecting shards of hope, fear, and ultimately unity. "All right," Matthew affirmed softly, but his voice resonated with a confidence that felt palpable. "We find those answers together." Antonio maneuvered the car deftly, shouting out instructions as we raced down the plots of the darkened street, every turn a gamble against time, against uncertainty. The torrent of moments unfurled into a heartbeat that pulsed with danger. I felt the warmth flowing within me, igniting the fire of conviction that had once lay dormant. Knowing that whatever lay ahead was something we would face as a family, bone-deep trust mingled with fear, resolute in holding the branches back. As the headlights behind us loomed closer, a sense of ominous foreboding chained the air around us. Just as I was about to look back, it happened, the screeching of tires, a chaotic lurch, and the car shake suddenly violently. "Get down!" Matthew yelled, pushing me low below the dashboard. A cacophony erupted as bullets whizzed past, mercilessly clattering the metal frame and cracking the windows. I kneed around their rage, the oncoming storm reflected in each fearful gasp of breath I took. My heart raced, a thunderous cadence mixed with an insatiable need to survive. But amidst the chaos, something familiar flickered within me, the fierce resolve that once drove my brother and me together. "We can't let this be how our story ends." I shouted into the turmoil, words diving deep into the silence that threatened to engulf us. Antonio wove through the streets, his determination etched onto his features as he fought the hindrances fate placed before us. The fading lights of the night twisted, curling with elements of memories long forgotten, and as my brother clenched my hand tighter still, an unspoken bond pulsed between us. "Never once had I thought," Matthew murmured, oozing vulnerability, "that this would lead us here. Then let us choose to fight." The words tumbled effortlessly from my lips, igniting a silent vow among us. Our spirits reeled toward the chaos, intertwining hopes manifesting through every ounce of laughter, every hidden tear endured. Another surge of instinct swept through me, melding anger, fear, and an unwavering commitment to find my brother, to reclaim his identity, but more importantly, our shared connection against the chaos. "Hold on!" Antonio shouted again, redirecting us through side streets as we navigated our escape, a fierce wish binding us together. Before long, the sirens behind us quieted, a distant echo fading into the night. The grip of the pursuing darkness loosened slightly, claw marks of fear still etched deep into my soul. Yet, there hung a flicker of promise, the path dark but lit by our resolve, an unwavering connection we could rally upon. As we careened around a corner, a glimmer of light emerged ahead, and something shifted in the air. In that moment, I caught sight of my brother's worried expression, a tumultuous cascade of emotions flickering beneath his stoic facade. "We can do this together," I chanted, the echo of my pulse echoing the determination in our hearts. And then, as we reached the threshold of the driveway leading into a nondescript building, I inhaled the sweet promise of possibility sheer and unfurling. We jumped from the vehicle, hearts racing into the unknown, but as we moved closer toward our goal, uncertainty began to dissolve, reborn into something fierce and resolute, protective and real. I and the glowing light of the safe house, standing alongside my brother and mingled shadows of our past flickering just beyond our gaze, I embraced the unfamiliar warmth pulsing between us. Together, we forged a path into the darkness, and no matter what emerged behind those walls, even if it was betrayal, I felt the embers ignite, full of promise and built to withstand the storm. I wrapped an arm around my brother, a fierce embrace that melded all our shared memories and fears into something tangible, a promise and a vow, something infinitely more than wrapped in secrecy and doubt. "We'll figure it out together, it's time to unravel the truth." And in that defining moment, a deep breath escaped me, filling with potential and stealing the resolve that pulsed between the three of us. With a shared understanding, we stepped forward, together facing whatever awaited, each heartbeat echoing a fierce reminder that we chose love, unconditional, powerful, and rising above the darkness with every step we took into the unknown. As the door swung open, the shadows crept behind us, but our laughter broke free in the turmoil, a brilliant flash igniting in the stark contrast of what we faced, the flames of hope encircling us anew, and I knew, as long as we were together, the darkness would never win. "We'll always fight for each other, even through the shadows," I whispered, and together we stepped forward, ready to embrace the illuminated unknown.